Hi, good morning. It's January the 14th. I don't know what time it is exactly. I am having a little bit of a rough morning today. I woke up with like classic fatigue symptoms. The sore throat, the muscle aches, the just generally like the also like a slightly foggy brain. Those have like subsided, but now I think I'm getting my period, so there's that, which is fun. So I'm just not feeling super great. Okay, wait, how do I say that again? So did I do the one thing yesterday? I didn't necessarily have to do very much yesterday because today is a day where I don't have classes, so I don't have to leave the house at a specific time. I do have loads of things to do, and I need to be organized about them and not spend all day writing, which, don't worry, I wouldn't do that today anyway, because it was a little bit slow going. And yeah, yesterday I worked basically on video editing as long as I could. At night I had this like pretty rapid decline in wakefulness. I was like, 1 minute I was drinking a cup of tea and feeling all right, and then the next I was like, I could barely hold myself on the chair, and so I decided to go to bed. I also didn't do the ceremony yesterday. I will still have to do that. I had like a stressful day, the kind of day where you don't really have a moment to breathe in between things, and like I hadn't eaten a proper meal until like 5. I was feeling stressed and hadn't slept enough, and I was like angry, so I was already not having a great time yesterday. But then I didn't really have time to stop and prepare much for today. But again, I didn't really need that anyway, so it's fine. The day yesterday did not really help with how I woke up today. Okay, so did I write this morning? I did. It took a while for me to get there. I was technically in 3 sprints with, again, my good man Ian, who was productively trucking along. But it took me a while to like get settled and everything, and eventually I wrote 155 words. Then the second sprint, I was basically just like making something to eat, and so there was literally not a single word written. And then the third sprint, I was getting cramps, and I just held on as long as I could until I reached the 500 word mark for today. So in total, I wrote 519 words. Like generally, I think I can do much better. I can write a lot more, and like I want to get to the point in the scene where things are actually happening and stuff. But yeah, that's the best that I could do this morning. Maybe if I feel like it and I'm done with most of my things today, which who knows. Maybe I will write some more during Ali's stream, which I'm hopefully going to remember to go to at 2 p.m. 30. That's the writing that I did today. And now it's time for a prompt. Sorry that I'm like so not like low energy. Also, I wanted to, because I'm doing a live stream again, the first in, I think it has been like 3 or 4 weeks, and hopefully getting back to my 1 week rhythm. I was like thinking if I should do a prompt for the live stream, because I usually do like offer a little bit of a prompt before each of the, like we do 2 sprints of 30 minutes, and before then I usually like draw a little prompt, not the kind of prompts that we have here, more like story idea, scene idea type prompts. And I've done a couple of slightly different versions of it. And yesterday I was also thinking like what kinds of prompts I could do if I wanted to do prompts at all, especially because I already do a prompt every day. Shouldn't I just focus on writing in my work in progress? But I really like doing little prompts that like get the creativity going. I have two kinds of ideas that I could do. One is like one dialogue line that you would draw from like one receptacle, then another one also randomly chosen. And then like what if you put these together, like two dialogue lines, like what ideas come from that? That was one idea. And then the other one was just like details that you might bring into your description in the scene that you're writing. So, but I need to prepare that still. Hopefully I get through that today. I don't sound like it, but I am actually excited to try a new version of prompts. Okay, but now to today's prompt. It's pretty long, I think. Uh-huh. Oh, okay, this is a cute one. I had this idea that you could like go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole and maybe find something interesting to learn to put into your story or something. Okay, so the instruction is, and maybe we'll just do that on my screen. Go to the Wikipedia homepage, look at the article of the day, then go 3 to 5 levels down the rabbit hole. By that I mean like there are always these linked terms, you know, that you can click on, and then they lead you to a new Wikipedia article. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have probably used Wikipedia before. And then on that page, read one of the shorter paragraphs. Obviously, you can also read a longer one. And then, does anything inspire a story, a character, backstory, a piece of world building, anything? So that's kind of fun. Let's go and try that. All right. So this is the homepage from today's featured article. The Snow Queen is a 2000 young adult fantasy novel by the Canadian writer Eileen Carnigan. Well, would you look at that? The featured article is a book. Love that. This author is kind of interesting. I don't know her. Shamaness Sami. That's interesting. Hans Christian Andersen. Kalevala. Epic poetry, feminist. Aurora Award Best Novel. Thistledown Press. Imaginative geography. Okay, this is calling my name. What is this about? Imagined geographies. The concept of imagined geographies or imaginative geographies originated from Edward Said, particularly his work on Critique on Orientalism. Imagined geographies refers to the perception of a space created through certain imagery texts and or discourses. For Said, or probably Said, to be honest. Let's see. Yeah, probably more like Said. I just went from the first name Edward and was like, oh yeah, this is English. Imagined does not mean to be false or made up, but rather is used synonymous with perceived. Despite often being constructed on a national level, imagined geographies also occur domestically in nations and locally within regions. cities as a form of social constructionism. Edward Said's notion of Orientalism is tied to the tumultuous dynamics of contemporary history. Orientalism is often referred to as the West's patronizing perceptions and depictions of the East, but more specifically towards Islamic and Confucian states. Orientalism has also been labeled as the cornerstone of post-colonial studies. I would love to read this article in itself, but let's see. Let's go down some more rabbit holes. So this is his book. Orientalism is a 1978 book by Edward Said, in which he establishes the term Orientalism as a critical concept to describe the Western world's commonly contemptuous depiction and portrayal of the Eastern world, or the Orient. Said argues that Orientalism, in the sense of the Western scholarship about the Eastern world, is inextricably tied to the imperialist societies that produced it, which makes much Orientalist work inherently political and servile to power. Good man. Okay, what else? Ooh, what is this? According to Said, in the Middle East, the socio-economic and cultural practices of the ruling Arab elites indicate their imperial satraps, who have internalized a romanticized version of Arab culture created by French and British and later American Orientalists. Let's see. A satrap was the governor of the provinces of the ancient Median and Persian, Achaemenid empires, and in several of their successors, such as the Sasanian Empire and the Hellenistic empires. A satrap served as a viceroy to the king, though with considerable autonomy. The word came to suggest tyranny or ostentatious splendor, and its modern usage is a pejorative and refers to any subordinate or local ruler, usually with unfavorable connections of corruption. I want to look this one up. A viceroy is an official who reigns over a polity in the name of and as the representative of the monarch of the territory. The term derives from the Latin prefix vice, meaning in the place of, and the Anglo-Norman roi, Old French roi, or whatever, meaning king. This denotes the position as one who acts on behalf of a king or monarch. I feel like this would be much more appropriate for my other work in progress. I'm not entirely sure about the political structure of Tierra Milagros in Echoes and Waves, and we're not quite in the time of kings anymore in that. Like, it's not real historical, obviously. Let's see, what can I... The viceroyalties of the Spanish Americas and the Spanish East Indies were subdivided into smaller autonomous units, the audiencias, tribunal with the authority to judge, and the captaincies general, military districts, which in most cases became the basis for the independent countries of modern Hispanic America. These units gathered the local provinces, which could be governed by either a crown official or a corregidor, sometimes alcalde mayor, or by a cabildo or town council. Audiencias primarily functioned as superior judicial tribunals, but unlike their European counterparts, the New World audiencias granted by law both administrative and legislative powers. I think it's going to make me think about, is there a crown? Okay, so the thing is with Tierra Milagros is that the continent is so separate from the pseudo-European continent, it is so difficult to cross that it's not feasible to do colonialism in the sense. So I have that, like, in the middle of the ocean, there is like a station in the ocean where representatives would be stationed there and would communicate with people sent there from Tierra Milagros for negotiation or whatever. But they're not ruling them. But I could imagine, maybe because like Tierra Milagros is just one small country, same as Costa Rica is just a small tiny country in the vast continent of America. So I'm wondering if maybe, if we're imagining like an America that didn't get colonized, or not, at least not the way that history actually happened, like at least so far, then I think it is fair to assume that there would be Aztec and Mayan and whatever else empires and other social structures were still intact. Maybe? Oh god, this is so difficult. There are settlers, and there has already been a mixture in Tierra Milagros of cultures, but it's more like people being stranded there and making a life for themselves, and not the places being like economically tied or politically tied very closely. Or maybe it's even, since this world is like, there's so many, like the oceans are wide and hard to cross, and it's just a lot more water masses than land masses. Maybe what would happen is that we have like a core of the Americas basically. So I think it would make sense if it were more like one landmass, and then like satellite smaller land masses and islands and groups of islands and everything all around. Tierra Milagros could be one of those, kind of independent but also governed by maybe a crown on this like central landmass of the Americas. I don't remember what I called that continent. I very much like taken the blueprint of the real world and real geographies. Actually perfect for the word imagined geographies maybe, even though I don't think that's what he meant. It's interesting because now the technology is evolving and crossing the oceans is getting easier. In conclusion, I need to do some more research, and I'm kind of reimagining the geography in this story. So yeah, I feel like maybe I should have recorded some of what I was just speaking into the mic in front of the camera, but I also don't want to redo it now. Point is that this made me rethink a little bit of the geography and the political structures around Tierra Milagros, which is great because that is very much a blind spot still for me, even as I have like a pretty good idea of the country where like 3 of them come from, or live in at least. Okay, so depending on when you see this video, I would be curious, what is today's Wikipedia featured article of the day? And are you finding any interesting rabbit holes? And let me know how your writing is going. Otherwise, I will just see you tomorrow, hopefully with a little bit more energy and a little bit more enthusiasm. We will see each other tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be the 15th already, which is pretty much like half the month. Crazy.